Big exciting news for a Tuesday morning as we near the finish line, but can we get over it? The Temple of Doom has set a deadline for this evening for a second stimulus package. She says they are close. Wall Street is up, trading up on renewed optimism. A deal is going to be hatched today. Steve Mnuchin is silent. Mark Meadows says a deal is going to be done. The White House says he'll have the GOP supported within 2 minutes of calling them up. Mitch is silent, but will introduce his counter bill today, his first of two. And then, what do I think? What is my opinion of the situation? That and more in an exciting, really nail-biting, but great news Tuesday morning. This is Morning's LALATE. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning. I appreciate you for tuning in, and thank you for tuning in for early mornings LLA, which started at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with 2 broadcasts this morning. That was a lot of exciting, great news, but this is the more comprehensive broadcast, a little bit taped a little bit later in the day. Thank you for joining, and go to the Funnish channel, subscribe. We're approaching 300,000 subscribers. I haven't checked this morning. I think we're about 2,000 or 2,500 away, so let's get there. Also, like this video. In this video, I'll be going over a lot of breaking details just this morning. I will be going over staying on message for MSCs, multiple stimulus checks, and why the deadline of today doesn't mean anything for MSCs. Second, poll numbers and the importance of executive orders. Third, October surprise. Could the October surprise come tomorrow in an executive order? Fourth, the polls. 5, Drew. What Drew's comments are about your second stimulus negotiations. And finally, 6, Wall Street. And finally, my opinion of the situation, because viewers, including Jennifer, have been asking today, what do you think, Ella? What do you think is going to happen? All right, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that the message of the Purple Power, the focus of the Purple Power, remains unchanged this morning and tomorrow morning, despite the events of what have been called a deadline, a faux deadline created by the Temple of Doom. What is this faux deadline? Well, it's a deadline for her to stop working, is all it really is. Let's be very truthful about the matter. But, and this is sort of preempting a discussion of my opinion later in this video, the deadline has worked for Nancy Pelosi because it makes it look like she's working. It makes it look like she's nonpartisan and that she's trying to reach an agreement. Well, what is my opinion of this situation later in this broadcast? Needless to say, MSC, multiple stimulus checks, hashtag multiple MSC, remains the focus of this channel because I want you to be prepared mentally that at 4 o'clock or 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you get this person appearing on the Evita Peron balcony at the Speaker of House's office and say, "Don't come for me, Argentina," and don't come for me because you didn't give me enough stimulus, Mr. President. I don't want you to start singing Andrew Lloyd Webber songs. I just want you to understand that our focus is unchanged because this is a faux deadline. Our focus is your owed multiple stimulus checks, and by all accounts, there potentially won't be multiple stimulus checks in what we see coming later today, if there is an agreement later today, with the exception of that strange statement by Mark Meadows yesterday that the reason why the deal offers now at $1.9 trillion, which is very exciting, more about that in a second, is because there's more money going to stimulus checks. Okay. That could mean a lot of different things. It could mean the stimulus check is bigger. It could mean the stimulus check is comprehensive for covering more people, more eligibility. It could talk about the household the stimulus check is bigger, or it could talk about MSCs. All I got to say is that Mark Meadows has literally been repeating verbatim stuff of this channel in the last 24 hours. I've been tweeting some of them, and I can't even keep up with how many things he's been retweeting. He's talked about the finish line. He has talked about remaining focused. He has used catchphrases from this channel, in the last 24 hours. So is he giving us a hint? Well, let's give him a hint. Push, 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 Purple Power. MSCs, your old multiple stimulus checks. Your oldest stimulus check for the month of April, May, June, July, August, September, October. This is now 6 months since you potentially got a first stimulus check, and now the Temple of Doom wants to make it look like she's working because she wants to give you a $500 stimulus check for 6 months of a lockdown, of a pandemic where you lost your job. I mean, it's just insane. And she wants to give hundreds of billions of dollars to salary raises for federal employees that already make $600,000 a year, six figures a year, and did not lose their job. You see where the priority is with government. It's to make government bigger and to not make you a better person and a more financially sound person. And that's why I have been the champion of you, and you have been the champion of us. We're focused as our own lobbyists to get what you're owed, and you may not get it today. You may not get it tomorrow, but you ultimately will get what you're owed, which is multiple stimulus checks. The first stimulus package said you were supposed to have multiple stimulus checks. It was taken out, $2,000 every month for 6 months until the pandemic decreased or unemployment went away. Neither event has occurred. You have not, the unemployment has not gone down, the pandemic has not gone away, and it's not going to improve till at least January of next year, or February next year, which is almost another 6 months. So we're talking about 12 months of a situation that is not improving. You're owed multiple stimulus checks. All right. As we sit here today, then, does the deadline to late today mean anything with you and MSC? Categorically not. So should your mindset be changed by the events that we hear later today? Absolutely not. Should you stop be pushing for MSC? Should you stop be pushing for hazard pay, retroactive FPUC late to late July because they want to say something in the late today? No, absolutely categorically not. Let me go to next to the polls. The polls, which I'm going to detail more on 28 coming up at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, are really unchanged. And the big question is whether Trump can change the polls on Wednesday and Thursday. And why Thursday? Well, Thursday is the presidential debate. And what is Wednesday? Wednesday is what this channel has been calling for the potential, and certainly we're going to tell him this, and we have been telling him this. This is the potential for the president to set up an October surprise. What is an October surprise? An October surprise is a surprise that comes every election cycle for a president, in which a president usually drops a scandal from someone else, and that scandal is usually salacious. It's sort of like the Hunter Biden thing that happened last weekend, but it's often positive. Well, if the Temple of Doom shuts her door today at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever time it's going to be, he should do executive orders tomorrow, Wednesday, and blame her. Blame her because she shut the door. Now it's her blame game because she shut the door by the end of today. It's her deadline, and she ended the deadline. So do the executive orders tomorrow. Save America. Go into the election, go into the presidential debate the next day and say, hey, I saved America. She shut the door. It's the simplest, easiest, cleanest, and most effective messaging that this president could do in an October surprise. Next, will the president understand these items, and will he understand getting these messages across? Well, there's a New York Times article overnight, and I detailed on Mornings or LALATE, and I fully understand the New York Times and the president are always at odds with each other. But the New York Times says the president has not focused on the economy, and that some of his insiders have told him focus on the economy, stop focusing on salacious things like laptops and Giuliani and Hunter, and focus on the economy because when it goes to the polls, people indefinitely prefer President Trump over Biden on economic questions. But Trump is not playing that up. He's not giving himself credence on things that he works well with. And stimulus is exactly what he could work very well with. Another reason to push, push, push. Next, Wall Street. Wall Street sitting back today and saying, oh boy, we're ready and we're very excited. And also, they are very excited about the situation that is unfolding today. The question is whether Wall Street is just being led astray. Yesterday, on early mornings, LALATE yesterday, Wall Street traded up before the market opened on hopes that a stimulus package would be approved. Then, when the market opened halfway during the day, the Washington Post came out and said Nancy Pelosi's use of the word imminent is being used a little bit too much, and we don't believe it. And then Wall Street tanked and lost 450. It's that sort of skiddiness that shows that Wall Street is either detached from the reality or knows something that we don't know, because it shouldn't be that up and down. Today, Wall Street's trading up 250 before the opening on hopes of a stimulus deal by the end of today. And then we turn to Drew, not the Property Brothers, the other Drew, Nancy Pelosi's liar-in-chief, her press secretary, who never can really say a straight statement about anything. He said the speaker continues to hope that by the end of Tuesday we will have a clarity on whether we're able to pass a bill before the election, which means much of nothing. We'll have clarity whether we have an agreement, or we'll have clarity of whether we can do something by the end of today. What does that mean? How about you give us some numbers? How about you give us some details? We're having a really badass fight about one issue. He's being a waste of time on another issue. He's being cheap on something else. How about you just give us some numbers? How about you just give us some numbers? And then we can decide how close or not close you are. It's that type of issue when he says that the parties spoke yesterday for 1 hour. Congratulations, they spoke for 1 hour yesterday. You know how many hours I recorded yesterday? I mean, is this, how many hours you watched me recording yesterday? You know how many hours you tweeted yesterday? And they spent 1 hour yesterday chatting about their differences. They continued to narrow their differences during a 1 hour chat yesterday. I could reenact that for you with puppets, and it would be absolutely hilarious. But it's basically, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you. 60 minutes later, we're done. We discussed narrowing our differences. This is why there's nothing being done, because there's a bunch of lazy people that don't do much of anything. The big issue with you and the polls this morning is that you have to categorically use the polls in your best effort. And there's going to be a lot of distractions today and a lot of questions. One of the biggest questions that you're going to see all throughout the day is the GOP. Does Mitch support the president? Does Mitch not support the president? Well, if Mitch does support the president, well, how about those other 20 Republicans who are in the Senate? And how about those claims that Susan Collins has been trashing the president? And how about those claims that Mitch has been trashing the president? Ultimately, it's a hot mess expressed unto itself, and I really don't want you to worry about it, because we're told not to worry about it, and I have to believe that's true. Mark Meadows, in a series of very confusing comments, which I detailed on Early Mornings LALATE this morning, said basically by the end of all his comments was, we will have a vote from Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor of any bill that the president and Nancy Pelosi agree upon. Repeat, a vote on the Senate floor. So we have to take that statement as true. Now, there are press reports, left and right, that are saying that everything Mark Meadows is saying lately is untrue, that he's breaking with the president, that the president's upset because Mark Meadows is saying things that are contradictory to the president's own claims, whether it's COVID-19 contractions by the president or stimulus. And so ultimately you can go down that path. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to believe what Mark Meadows is saying is true, and I'm going to go with it because the president has also said the same message, which turns me then to my opinion and what I think is going to happen today. Jennifer asked me, LA, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Nancy's going to have a deal? Well, I'm going to answer Jennifer's question, but even make it broader. I'm going to go over all the different facets in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. It is not fact. It is just my opinion and analysis of the situation. First, does the president have GOP support in the Senate? I believe the president will get Mitch McConnell to put whatever deal the president and Nancy Pelosi have to a vote on the Senate floor. One, the reason why I believe that is because it looks good for Mitch. It doesn't look bad for Mitch to do that. But two, does the president have support from enough GOP elected officials on the Senate floor to get the bill passed? I believe that there will be GOP leaders that will vote against this bill. Whether or not there is enough of them to kill the bill, I don't know. My opinion is also that I believe that the president has not fully briefed or analyzed the situation to determine how many people are against his bill who are GOP senators, to determine whether he can pass this by a bill on the Senate floor. I believe the president has not asked that question, because every time he's asked the question, have you asked senators? He says, no, I'm not going to ask them. I'll do it when I have a deal with Nancy. I just think there's a very big question of whether there's enough dissenting votes and he could still pass it. My opinion, I think he can still pass it, but I think there will be dissenting votes. Next, Nancy and Donald. Will Nancy and Donald reach an agreement today? Well, my opinion has always been that the president will go to $2 trillion. He's at 1.9. I was the first to tell you he was at 1.85. He was previously at 1.8. I believe he will go to 2. I don't think he's going to go to 2.2, and I believe that she'll go to 2 and wrap from 2.2 if she gets the language of things she wants. Ultimately, will she then do the deal by the end of today? Here's my opinion. My opinion is that Nancy Pelosi has no reason, in Nancy Pelosi's mind, to do a deal. The reason why is that doing a deal doesn't serve her any benefit from what Nancy Pelosi does. Her purpose is to get Joe Biden elected, and if it involves imploding the economy, it involves making Americans be waiting longer for stimulus, then she will so do it. And so I don't think Nancy Pelosi will do a deal because it doesn't serve Nancy Pelosi's purpose to do a deal. Will the then on that regard, will the president, if he is offered a deal from Nancy Pelosi and he accepts it, will he fully accept it? I've already detailed that in an opinion last night. I don't think the president, based upon the way Donald Trump thinks, will actually sign something into law before Election Day. Because if he loses, do you think he wants to give stimulus to Joe Biden? No. He wants to say to Joe Biden, go to your own stimulus. I lost the election. Go take care of yourself yourself. I don't think that the president will sign something as opposed to agree to something before election night because he doesn't want to give Joe Biden anything. It's not characteristic of any president. No president wants to give the next president something as a free ticket. If you want to do your stimulus, you do it. I'm leaving. Thank you. Well, after all that type of stuff. Finally, what is my opinion about the polls? What is my opinion about where things are going to go? I want to make very clear, because I say it every day, but I'm going to start saying it even more. This is not a channel to endorse political candidates. This is not a channel to push for a Republican or a Democratic agenda. This is a channel to get you stimulus and to get you the stimulus you're owed. The amount of stimulus you're owed is not a partisan issue. It's an economic issue. So when we talk about MSCs, or we talk about hazard pay, or we talk about FPUC more retroactive, that has nothing to do with Republican versus Democrat. It has to do with economics and how much you're owed and what we do to get that money. And ultimately, if we're asking the president for executive orders in an October surprise, that does not mean we're trying to get him a win for the presidency. That means we're trying to get you a win for stimulus relief. With that messaging, let me go to some of your 1,200 comments from yesterday, and they were great. Artha, you're all playing around. Give the stimulus right now. Johnny, they better stop acting like kindergarten. Max, why is Wall Street acting like something's going to get done? That's a really good question. Wall Street's usually correct about this, so I don't know what's going on with Wall Street. Great question, Max. Steve, Nancy, get off your high horse and sign it. Her horse is very high. Steve Caldwell, Nancy, Carla Lee. Pelosi has done this before, but she seems to control the whole mess of deadlines come and go. She keeps pushing Trump and seats for stimulus. Geraldine, to tell the truth, at this point, I just want a big fat stimulus check. Donna Klein, our country is the laughing stock. Judy, protest at Nancy houses. Robert, if you get evicted, set up camp at Nancy's house. Jennifer, Kesey, I pray every day for the anxiety. Don't have anxiety, please. Zeus the God, I'm optimistic. Brenda, I want to sue this government. Bernard, this new proposal with bigger $2,000 stimulus checks should be going. Carol, it's snowing in Iowa. J-Rock, hey, good morning, LA. Good morning. Sugar Cream, I'm so tired of promises from Nancy. Michelle, this is crazy. They're acting like children. Robin, this is so sad. Aaron, we're going to try to get these elderly people to do their jobs. Sherry, why does it seem that Pelosi has more power? D-Rock, if Nancy Pelosi's the boss, is Nancy Pelosi the boss of Congress? Jerome, Pelosi's acting like a bitter ex-wife. Sandra, Nancy Pelosi should take it off the street and put it in there. Gene Norris, if we don't get our stimulus, just vote them all out. Tricia, Wall Street has been up a couple days thinking something's going to get done, but guess what? Nothing happened. Our leader, Evil Nancy, gives 48 hours ultimatum. Elijah, nothing yet, but we still need to wait for it. Robert Borges, I'm reading it's a standalone PPP bill. Robert Gooch, I really need this check, really. Mark Levitt, this is what people of California look like. Susan Cohn, I'm very far behind on my bills. Otis, all this waiting for $1,200 check, and they don't want to give it to us. Millionaires being cheap to American people. I love that comment. Otis Hayes. Christine, Pelosi's up for re-election on January 3rd. Vote her out. No, she's up for re-election this term. Kathy Barker, these people need MSC. Michael Crawford, I'm heading to the White House. We'll say hello. If you have questions for today's video, drop them in the comments below. Go to the Furnace channel, subscribe. Subscribe because we're going to get through this together. It's an exciting morning. It's a lot of twists and turns. I'm here, you're here. It's very dark. It's very dark. All I wish for is daylight savings time or the fall back quickly because, boy, it's getting dark. Also, like this video. Coming up next is 28. Stay tuned for that. That is going to be a bombshell, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay at LA for more.